Hello, good morning, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. And if you are live with us, if you catch us live, feel free to leave us some questions if you have any. We'll try and get back to you as soon as we can on here. Or if we catch comments on the replay, then we'll answer you there as well. So today we're just covering the topic of being ready for January, taking an opportunity over the Christmas break to look into some of the things that we maybe don't normally get time to take care of, making sure that all of our automations are set right, our templates set up, and basically check that we're taking as much advantage of the system as possible, especially given that for January you may be, well, hopefully, welcoming a lot of new members and providing people with the opportunity to try your classes. So let's check with where is best place to start. I'm going to go through a recap of making sure that trials are turned on first and foremost. A lot of people have obviously picked up Class Manager and they're running it with it for their billing, but then trials is one of those extra features that we're like, oh yeah, I'll get around to it. I'll look at it next time. I'll just keep doing it the old way for now. So here is the opportunity over Christmas, if you get a chance. Just come along to classes, trials, and then in the settings tab. If your trials are turned off, then you'll go here straight away and you'll see this page here. So we just have to enable trials, and I'm not going to go into full detail here because there's a few other things that I want to cover, but we're just going to brush over the basics that are relevant to what I'm talking about today. And predominantly that is these reminders that are here. So your trial reminder, which goes out one day before the trial, and then the follow-ups. These can be a bit like payment reminders. They can be toggled off independently. You don't have to have one or all. You can just have the ones that you want. In this example, we're going to have both of the follow-ups turned on. This will send a different email depending on the outcome of the register for that class. So if your trial student is marked as present, they will get this email. If they are marked as absent, they'll get the absent email, which can be worded differently, obviously because we don't want to say, hey, I had a great time at your class, when they're like, we didn't come. So we can take care of that by reacting to the register. And again, if you would rather reach out to people who didn't attend, you'd rather reach out to them with a phone call or manually, but you're happy for people who did attend to get an automated email, then we just turn that one off like so. So once we've got trials turned on, let's have a look at actually setting them up in your classes, because this here is the global setting for the whole system, but we can turn different classes on or off for trials. So in this example account, I believe, yeah, everything is just turned on. But let's say I actually don't want people to be able to trial the Bally classes. I can just select the Bally classes and in group actions, disable trial lessons. And that will take them away from my trial link. It will not display publicly, and it will also not display for any existing members who are looking on their portal. And in the same fashion, if we want people to be able to book trials of classes, but not to be able to enroll, then we can just come here and hit disable portal enrollment. And that will prevent people from being able to actually sign up to the class. It essentially forces them to join through the trial method, which then you can approve, and we'll show a little bit of that in a bit as well. So that's just a quick recap of how we can turn certain classes on or off for trials. And let's go on to the tap class to begin with. It's actually a good idea, as it's relevant to what I want to go to next. So when we go to the class information, you've got all the tabs along here, the basic information and the lesson setup. Just a quick tip actually while we're here. If you are changing any of your class details over Christmas, if any of your timetables change for January, when we change information on this page, this is what we're telling Class Manager the class can do. So for example, in this case, this class can only happen in Studio One and it can only happen with me. However, I can't teach tap, by the way, if my sister is watching, she knows. And I can put a second room on here. Now that's not me saying to the customers, this class happens in 2 rooms. This is me saying to the system, this class is allowed to happen in 2 rooms, because what sometimes we'll do when we go, oh, that's now being taught by Jessica instead of Rachel or whoever it might have been, then we go along and we change the staff or the room here. This is telling the system who can teach it and what rooms it's allowed to be in. When we want to change our timetable, we actually have to go into the lesson setup tab. And this is where we would either create the new occurrence of the lesson. So now we can see Studio 1 and 2 are eligible, and we can see the times, and again, any clashes would be displayed here. So we can either create that as a new class and then either discontinue the existing one, or we can simply open up this one and hit edit, and we can change the studio there. So if you are changing your timetable, make sure to also change it. I went back too far then. Make sure to also change it in your lesson setup tab, not just your basic information. Otherwise you'll go through the whole list and then wonder why nothing has changed. So that one caught me out a few years ago, but once you know it, it makes sense. So student list, lessons, waiting list, online class, we're going to skip over these because today I just want to head into trials. And the reason I want to go here is just to show you that this is where we can actually amend some details. If you wanted to limit the days that trials can happen for that class, for that term, then we could reduce the date down here. This would need to be done per class, unfortunately. So it's going to be a task if you have got a lot of classes and you want to limit things down. If you had that as a limit, I would instead recommend having a trial term where you can just specify 1 week, and then all classes that are created in that term will follow the same date limitation. So if you do have a trial week and then the rest of the time no one's allowed to trial, definitely do that as a separate season. It won't affect anything else. And then here we can also choose the price. But what I wanted to talk about mainly was this box here, the additional information. So this is going to go onto the booking page. When the customer is looking at the trial, they'll see it on the left-hand side. And then it also goes onto the confirmation email that they get with their booking. So if you have special requirements of what to bring with you, where to park, if this class happens in a slightly different part of the building and they have to use a different door, any of that information that's going to help your customer have the best possible experience on their first visit, we can put it in here. And then once it's in there, that will copy through to future seasons. Every time you clone the season, that information gets pulled through, so you haven't got to keep reiterating to people. If you're coming to the singing lessons, you need to go into the upstairs entrance. If you're coming to acro, you need to use the downstairs entrance. Any of that stuff, it can just all be in there. So once somebody has booked a trial, which I know we've gone through before from a parent point of view, so I'm going to skip over that today. The students will appear in a list just here. Now, before we dive into that, I do actually need to mention, if somebody is registering for their first time, so these 2 trials are existing students, because existing students can book trials, and I absolutely encourage you to encourage your students to do so. But a brand new person registering, they will be in here in your trial registration. So keep an eye out on your notifications. If you have them turned on, they'll come through to your app on your phone or your tablet, and they'll also show through to here. So when we have a trial booked, just come along to here and you'll see the parents' information. And from there we know, okay, that person needs to be approved, and that gives the parent account access if you want them to have the access to their account straight away. Then we would come through to here to find the students of the trial, and we'll have the status here to see if the date has gone by. We can see when they booked the trial, and once we click onto here, we have some more options that appear. If you're taking manual payments, then we can mark the payment off here. Or if the person has attended and they've got back to you and said, yeah, hi, great, love the class, I'd love to enroll, then we can just hit enroll here, and it will enroll them from the following session after their trial date is booked. Now, if you are billing in a per class feature, so let's just look at ballet for a second. If, for example, your classes look like this, oh, I don't want to change tags, I clicked too quick. If we're saying it's £6 a class, and the billing frequency is set to per lesson, then the system will know if I enroll somebody on the 7th and then they join from the 14th, their billing will start from the 14th, and the system will work out how many dates in that billing period remain. However, if you, like a lot of us do these days, if we bill for the month, then when we add that student to the class and we then generate the invoice, they're going to get charged for 1 month, because that's what the system is being told to do. There's still more than 0 in the months remaining column. Even if it's half a month, it's still more than 0. So it's going to round up and say there's still 1 month less, because it doesn't know the per class cost. So if you are enrolling somebody off the back of a trial, and for that first invoice, we can just make a manual adjustment as their invoice will be in draft. Do I have any? I've got one here from a Blue Peter moment. We can have, here's one I made earlier. This was actually last week, wasn't it? And so imagine this is a person's first draft invoice of their first month in their new class, and we know the system's trying to charge them £18, but actually they only owe £6. Then we could just change that amount there. I even like to go as far as putting the description to say, prorated joining month, or something that indicates to the parent that this is the reduced price. They're only paying for what is left of that month, and then next month they can expect it to be the normal price. That's one way that you can do that. Saving time, I sometimes will just enroll people for the month following. Let's say we're in January and there's 2 weeks of January classes left, but because we charge ahead, my February bills are probably already out there. So more often than not, I'll enroll the customer and generate their February bill and just tack January on as an additional item and just call it remainder classes in January. And then again, it's really clear to the customer that their first bill has got January and February, a remainder of January and February on it, and then they'll get the next bill from March onwards. So rocketed through quite a few things there, but what I wanted to go ahead and show you guys before we dive into my favourite place of email templates again is just this little flow. Now you can do something like this with absolutely any whiteboard. There's lots of free whiteboard things online. What I've done here is just jumped on Canva because, come on, we all use Canva, don't we? Let's admit it. And what I've done is just for my own sanity mapped out the automated emails and the manual emails that I would need to send to a customer throughout their enrollment process. So the grey ones are automated, so we can see a lot of the legwork is being done by Class Manager, and then the yellowy, goldy coloured ones are things that I can send manually, but I can still save those as templates. And then I highlighted invoice and receipt as blue because they are the two most common emails that a person who is settled into your school is going to get from you. So we'll talk about why they are important in a second. But just to show, I've just copy and pasted a bunch of placeholder text into all of these. But for your own customer journey, and when you're thinking about, okay, when a person comes across my link, or they're messaging me on Facebook, or they're clicking the link on my ad, and that's sending them to usually the Class Manager page to book a trial, or it might send them to your website to fill out a form, and then the automated reply from your form says, hey, click this link to book your trial, and that then starts them off into the process of creating their account on Class Manager. The first thing they're going to get is their welcome email. So this will go if you have your portal registration, not an enrollment, portal registration automatically approving, and you have send welcome email ticked. What that means is when a person creates an account, they are straight in, they've got full portal access, they can see enrolling classes, more trials, read the notice board, those kinds of things. I don't have anything overly sensitive on our notice board, so I'm very happy just to have automatic approval for parents creating an account to be turned straight on, and the welcome email to come straight through as well. So first port of call, this is what they're going to get. And if you're using some kind of whiteboard, you could just drop the text in here. I like to plan it all out on one one thing where I can see everything rather than going in between all the different email templates. And then when I'm happy with the flow, I can then go back and then start to copy and paste that into the relevant template in Class Manager. So a welcome email is usually going to be their first port of call if you have it turned on. And then usually a trial is being a trial booked. Now actually this template is called trial completed, and it's in reference to the booking of the trial. So I'll point that out when we go back into the system in a second, but it's good to bear that in mind. So the trial completed is essentially, hey, thank you for booking a trial, and then in that email will go some of the class specific information that we were talking about earlier when we looked at the TAP class, and we can also modify a few other bits of information that go on there, so we can tell people, where to park, what to bring with you. Depending on the venue, there might be different setups. So if you do run classes from separate venues, you could have headings that say, this venue, here's the details, this venue, here's the details. And also for different age groups, I know that our process on a Saturday morning when all of our little people are in the building, the process would be quite different to if somebody is joining us for a class on a weekday in the evening. The building is totally different vibes. Saturday morning, very chaos, doubled up on members of staff, and then in the week, a little bit calmer. Still crazy at times, but a little bit calmer. So then from here, if your trials are paid, we need to consider, and again, if they're turned on, that the customer will get a receipt. So the first three things that a new customer is going to see from you are your welcome email, thank you for booking a trial, and if they've paid for it, the receipt. So it's really important that this information is all up to date, accurate, it's in the right style. You've not left it as the default out the box generic Class Manager reply that comes with the system. Definitely go in and customize these things, and look at opportunities to answer questions before they get asked. I also like to link away to things like our calendar, our policies, our payment terms, things that are quite evergreen, and you are only going to have to update it once a year at most, or you are never going to have to update it until things legitimately change for you. So those three are really important to consider. And then if they're turned on, we have the 3 trial reminders here that we mentioned earlier. So trial reminder goes out one day before. Hey, you've got a trial tomorrow. Make sure you turn up. Obviously more kindly worded than that. And then if they're turned on again, you've got your trial attended and trial missed. So we can plan out what we say to the customer. What call to action do they have? If it's trial missed, then are we going to offer them anything to try and incentivize them to get back in? Or are we going to just say, if you want to try again, you've got to go and book and pay again? I'm probably a little bit too soft with trials. The way that I treat it is, if somebody's paid for a trial once and then they either don't turn up, or if it's in the case of a very small person, if they don't enjoy it, or they're having a bit of a I need my mummy moment, then I'll just tell them, come along next week, I'll book you in, don't worry about the cost, keep trying until you've experienced a full class. Some people will say that's me being too soft, but that's just where I'm at right now. So let's go through the pathway of somebody missing a trial. Class Manager will reach out to them just the once straight after that class. I believe it's half an hour after the register is completed, they'll get the email trigger. So it's always worth planning out a manual outreach, which again, you can save into the system as a template. If you prefer to have on a Word document somewhere, that's fine as well, but you can save them into Class Manager. And then that could just be something that we do after maybe somebody books a trial, they didn't turn up, we've still not heard from them for a week. At this point, we could either reach out to them again or give them a phone call if you have time to. But just having that saved somewhere will hopefully increase the amount of follow through that you're able to do, because it will just be quickly leveraging some work that you did earlier on, rather than thinking, oh God, I've got to craft an email to that person who never turned up 2 weeks ago. Just have it there. And especially with the use of merge fields, it can be personalized from the off, so you haven't even got to worry about typing names in. But let's imagine they turned up, we've got trial attended. And then this again is important to have the call to action of, Did you enjoy the class? And then what do they need to do to enroll? Do they need to ring you? Do they need to fill out a form in their website? Do they need to just email back and say, yes, please sign me up? Is there any kind of date range in which they have to either wait for, or they've got 7 days to take action, or then they've got to start the trial process again? However it works for you, explain it in here, and then every time that trial attendance email goes out, the customer gets the information and you haven't got to do any of the work. So we've got a bit of divergence here depending on how you run your billing. So if you are just sending invoices and people pay them, whether that's through clicking the link and paying on Stripe, they bring cash, they send a bank transfer, they write you a check, whatever that would be, we can just have the normal invoicing process here. However, a lot of us are moving on to automatic payments, which requires an opt-in or a sign up from the customer in the beginning. So in this example, you see here, we've got a Go Cardless or auto pay. They usually, I'm going to say usually with an asterisk, they do need to be triggered manually by you. So when you have a new customer sign up and they say, yes, please sign me up, we approve them into the class, and then we can fire off to them the portal payment request email, which we just do from the customers page, or the invitation to join Go Cardless, which you do from the Go Cardless settings in your account. So that's the step where we essentially say, hey, is it okay for you to save your payment details so that we can just charge you? And then that will result in the customer hopefully obliging and signing up for Go Cardless or sharing their card details for auto pay with Stripe. And then you have a choice of whether you want to include an email with the invoice to them, or you just want to approve the invoice and let it happen. So when people get an invoice approved, they will get a message from Go Cardless anyway. So they'll get one from Class Manager, one from Go Cardless. But with Stripe, I do not believe that they get an email. So if you are invoicing and you're using AutoPay and Stripe, I would still recommend keeping that email turned on. It is turned on by default. If you were trying to not send them, you'd have to uncheck it at the invoice approval section each time. But that will then lead on to, if you have them turned on, a payment due soon. Now this one will always go out if it is turned on, because the automatic payments will, hang on, going to go back a step. It won't always go out. It won't go out if they're taking manual payments. So I'm going to stick on autopay for a second, just so I don't confuse myself. But if we're talking autopay, they will always get this, because the payment will never be paid before the due date. So therefore the before due email will always trigger. I really hope that makes sense. Essentially what I'm saying is, if this is set to go out 2 days before the due date, it will always go out because the payment won't be received until before the due date, the due date comes around. So this is a nice way that we can say, hey, just a friendly reminder that your payment is going to come out soon. And that can have, again, call to actions on it if they have forgot to let you know they're making a change, or if they need to, they've just had a big bill come out, the car needs 4 new tyres, is it okay if we pay next week? Then that's just a reason for them to get in touch and say, hey, this is the situation, please can we do something about this payment? Then the due today reminder should never get sent to a person on automatic payments, because the payment will always have been received in time. So this template, if you're on autopay, could be made to say, oh, there might be a problem with your payment. We've tried to take it. It should have been paid by now, but our records show it hasn't been. Please get in touch. Please check your account, because if you're on autopay, this shouldn't happen. You shouldn't be reaching the point where this trigger occurs. That was much better explained than this one, wasn't it? And then same for the overdue reminder. If you're on autopay, there is no way that you should even get this far. So these two can say similar things, but this one may be a little bit more, I don't want to say intense, a little bit more firm, a little bit more persuasive, a little bit more take action now, please. Your payment didn't go through. So that's those with automatic payments taken into account. But if you are taking manual payments, if you're taking bank transfers or cash, then the wording of these might need to be a little bit softer, because it could be very likely that somebody pays this invoice straight away and then a bunch of other activity happens in your bank account, and when you go to reconcile payments, you go, Rob's still not paid, so you leave me unpaid and I get one of these reminders. Now, customers can sometimes be quite good at sending snooty replies to say, hey, you've sent me a reminder, but I've paid it straight away. So the wording here can just be quite soft to say, if you have paid this, please just kindly remind us of the date and the method, and we'll update our records, or words to that effect. And then in both cases, if we reach the point where we're sending an overdue reminder, then again, the wording of this template, just make sure it follows on. So I would say from here through to here, from your invoice email through to your payment coming out soon, payment due today, payment overdue, and then this is you being chased manually, template. Just make sure there's continuity between what's almost like you want a what is here, you are here that progresses through the steps. So when a person receives the manual overdue that says, hey, this is me really chasing you now, it's illustrated that they would have got an invoice email, 3 automated reminders, and this is now me chasing you manually. So we've covered those things before. I will have a quick jump into the system in a second just to show you where these live. But then this up to here is the cycle of invoice and receipts. Now, most of the time we'll include the invoice email, and most of the time receipts will be turned on as well. So this is a great place to put information, especially for new people, where you want to continually remind them of how things work, where things are, important dates. I would say out of all of these emails, I know for a fact that these two go to my customers more than anything. So when we want to remind them and make sure that they're aware when the show dates are, or significant competitions that we do, or just how things work, what we expect of you as a customer, our rules for the children as students and things that we expect of those, then they can be in here and no one can ever say, I didn't know, nobody told me, because you can know with absolute certainty every time I've sent you a bill and every time you've paid it and then got a receipt, you have had an invoice and you've got an email that contains this information. So it's really important to plan out the content. Don't leave it to just say, here's your invoice, here's your receipt, cheers. We want to really leverage the fact that they're getting this email, usually monthly. And then off the back of here, this is more thinking about the sort of new member journey from the welcome email through to their first invoice, their first receipt, and then having a manual upsell saved. This could just be something that is welcome to the school, the academy, whatever you refer to yourself as. Thank you for your first term payment. Did you know? And then we can have a whole bunch of things in there, whether it's about uniform, events, private lessons, other opportunities. We could even have little blocks in there that you could customize or delete as appropriate about, hey, you've joined a musical theatre class. Did you know that there's a modern class that runs straight afterwards, and it's great. A lot of students combine those two subjects together because they complement one another. Those sorts of things. Again, it's a lot of brain space to remember to do that for new people all the time. But if you've got the template and the information already there, already saved, and then all you need to remember is when that new person pays their bill, you get a notification, you go, oh yeah, that's the person that just joined last week. I'll quickly sell them as a slip there. I'll quickly send them my, you don't want to call it an upsell email, call it whatever you like, call it an extended welcome or a secondary welcome, just to help them settle in. We spoke about it in, I think it was a week or two ago, about the idea of getting uniform and how sometimes we feel pushing uniform or kit or any kind of squad gear onto a new joiner. Some of us feel like it's a bit, oh God, I'm going to scare them off if I laden them with more costs. But actually, let's think of it as it's another way of welcoming them into the team, making them feel like they are part of the group, they do belong here, they're not the person who's just wearing a PE kit while everyone else is in lovely smart uniform and matching. So definitely opportunity there. For upselling and onboarding people nice and quickly. But that would be how I would want to plan out. And then can we just tab? Nope, we can't tab. Let's do it like this. So that is how I would want to visualize these these templates. So my welcome email there is going to be this one here, just so that I can zoom out and have a whole view. And if you are anything like me and you are lazy, then I would usually write my welcome email, copy and paste it into the trial, and make sure that the content is being continually reinforced. Now, one thing that is absolutely worth mentioning is we have these widgets in different emails. A good one to mention is things like the Go Cardless mandate request. So these links only work in their native email, so we can't copy this link over into the welcome email. That would be really cool. It's just not the way it works, unfortunately. So just be mindful of, like I did a long time ago, thinking I was being really clever and going, yeah, welcome email, okay, and you need to get yourself signed up on Go Cardless, so click here. That won't work, so don't get tripped up by that one. But what we can do is just make sure that the customer is informed shortly after you've chosen to enroll in a class, or following your trial period. You will receive an email that will invite you to save your card, and this is how we do payments by Stripe, or to sign up with your bank details, and this is how we do things with Go Cardless. So that's me talking an awful lot about email templates. We just need to also cover some of the links and where they live, because it's okay that things work when people get here, but we need to make sure that they can actually get here. So on your dashboard, there's a few handy links. I'm just going to talk about these three, because these are the ones that I would always recommend people use. So first and foremost, a staff login link is always really handy. Just make sure that that is in your staff WhatsApp, your Teams chat, whatever it is that people need, just so that staff are constantly reminded, if you need to log in, this is where you can do it. It's important as well that if you've got admin staff or staff with more permissions, that they know the difference between the capabilities of the Class Manager mobile app and then accessing the portal on whether it's a laptop or a phone, because this is our full portal. This has access to all the bells and whistles, all the features, and if we access this from a mobile, then we can still get through to everything here. The app doesn't have complete a match of all the features, so having that login link can sometimes give people more access than if they're on their phone and going, oh, well, I've got the app, but I'm not sure where to go. So I would just make sure that staff have got both. And then your register and login link, these are important to get right, but also if we just create a new tab, they are also two sides of the same coin, basically. So we want to send people to the right place in the first instance, but if ever we get it wrong, or the customer or the prospect comes across the wrong link, you haven't got to worry too much, because they can just hover over here and say, if I'm an existing member and it says already have an account, I can switch to login, which just asks me for my email address and password, and if I don't have an account, then I can register. And actually, I've just noticed, or should I say just remembered, there's a redirect to the staff login page here. So really, we can just share one link, but I would always want people to get the right link first time. So this link, for example, the register link, could be embedded in a button on your website, in a QR code on a flyer, or wherever it is that you're promoting, to say, hey, this is where we create an account if you want to browse classes, and existing members, we click here to log in. But we spoke earlier on about choosing between whether people join as just a trial to begin with, or they enroll. Your trial link lives in classes, trials, and settings. Then we can just see this one lives here. So if I do a new tab again and just show you what that looks like. So this is what a brand new customer would see. And if we click through to tap, we have a widget and information here. Now, when we were talking about adding additional information earlier on, for example, like I said, singing is upstairs, acro is downstairs, use the relevant entrances, that information will get added into here on the side, along with a class description. And then they can see, I'm already logged in now, so it's not going to ask me to sign up, but existing members are asked to choose the student and then to choose the day that they would like to attend. When a new member sees this, when they click through to register, they will be presented with, what have I done wrong there? I didn't pick a student. They will be presented with a registration form, and that is how they then sign up. So one final thing, bearing in mind that in January we may be getting some new people join us, it's a good time to just check out your custom attributes. So these are fields that we can add to the sign up form, whether it's the register form or the trials form, and we can use this to try and capture more information. Let's have a quick look at, let's just do a new one, let's not look at the old ones. So we can choose a text field, a number with a whole number or a decimal, a checkbox, a date, a text area, which is just like a little paragraph box, a select list, which is where they have to choose one option, or a multi-select list where they can choose multiple options, and then a checkbox required. Yes, it's a checkbox that they have to check. So if you have something in your business where they simply have to agree to it, this is the way we run. If you're not happy to do this, then you won't be able to proceed with your registration. Then you can have a checkbox required yes, and that could be talking about the payments. We go on a direct debit payment system. I'm happy to be charged in this way. Well, if you're not happy to be charged by direct debit, then unfortunately we're not the business for you. And we can give that a title, give it a name so people know what it is, and then attach it to the customer. When we attach things to the customer, it will ask once, and if we attach things to the student, then it will ask once per student. So if I'm registering 2 or 3 children, I'll get asked that question 2 or 3 times. So it's important that you give the right custom attribute to the right entity, whether that's customer or student. And then best practice really is to tick all of the boxes apart from required in admin. So required in admin means that when you as the admin of the system, if you ever to open up somebody's account and click edits to go and maybe update their phone number, but then they haven't given you an answer to this, it will do like it did for me a second ago on the trial when I didn't have a student selected. Can I go back to that one, or have we already come out of it? No, we're here. Yeah, I've already come out of that. So it will just reject your input basically. So required in admin, I would always recommend having that one turned off unless you need the reminder to always do that. But having these boxes ticked means that any new people that come into the system, they will automatically have that information captured. And then where does it go? We can see some of it will be shown on registers. Where is it? Oh, sorry, that's when we do a student attribute. It's not going to show for the customer. When it's a student attribute, it will show on the registers. So how we can overview that, final thing to mention, is if we say customer reports and then custom attributes. So we can see all the information that we capture then starts to get pulled in. It will be displayed on the individual parent and student account, but if you ever want a large overview, then we can just click through onto here. This won't have any information on it because all my people are fake. But for yours, you will see all this information here, which can then be exported as a PDF, or if you want to do it into a spreadsheet and then play around with the data for any reason, we can also use that there. So that's 40 minutes of me waffling away at you. So I hope that has been informative. We've covered a bit of a flow of how to leverage the automations right from a new person booking a trial, getting a welcome email, receiving their first invoice, their first receipt, and then also on the back end of that process, if anybody is not paying on time, or when we want to get them signed up for automatic payments and have them informed every step of the way, then we can really leverage those templates, make sure that those settings are turned on. Again, the billing reminders live in billing settings and reminders, and they can be turned on or off here independently, as we've said before, with the number of days before or after they get triggered to be set there. So, as usual, if you have any questions, you need any further help, there is our chat box down in the corner. This will get you straight through to our knowledge base first and foremost, so you can just search for a keyword like invoice and all the articles relating to invoices will be there. Speak to us in the chat down here, and then if anybody needs to book a call and go over something, just Sometimes you just need a person on the screen to talk to and have them talk back to you. That is also something that we can offer. So please do get in touch if you need any help. If you are doing a big overhaul for January, absolutely come and run it by us. We'd love to see how you're using Class Manager and see how we can help. But that is me, done for today. Thank you guys. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.